Well, the press were almost unanimous in their positive fawning uncritical coverage of today's walkouts. Here's a selection.
I'm already choked up thinking it's kids leading the nation begging for school safety because the adults have failed them. The power of these young people, the decisions they make, they cannot be bought. They are fearless.
It's pretty incredible to see these students of all different ages, some as young as 14 and 13 years old, having a strong opinion, not wanting to be underestimated about what they have to say.
So we're expecting a lot of very visual, very powerful moments here in the nation's capital as students across the nation, Stephanie, say enough.
Joe Concha writes about media for The Hill and has to watch that crap all day long. We're hiring only dumb people in TV news, I noticed. When did that happen? Did an order go out that only totally non-skeptical, low-IQ people get microphones now? Is that new?
Well, look, Tucker, reporters' jobs, and Stephanie Rule, for instance, was in the first two sound bites you had there, and she's an anchor. She's not a pundit. And
right.
They're there to simply report. And I go back to the movie Broadcast News, and I don't know if you remember, it's from the late 1980s, and William Hurt is this hotshot anchor. And at the end of this report, where they're talking about an event where they avoided tragedy, he says, in other words, I think we're all going to be okay now. And this curmudgeon producer, station chief, back in the control room, looks up at the monitor and says, who the hell cares what you think? And that's gone completely away now, because we're having anchors inject opinion and emotion into these reports instead of letting the pictures tell the story.
You know, I agree, but I guess look, for issues like this, gun control, abortion, the social issues, the press has always been completely on one side. But I've never seen entire TV networks devote their coverage basically as an in-kind contribution to the marches, which is what happened today. I mean, a line definitely has been crossed. This wasn't this way 2 years ago.
Oh, no, this is activism in many quarters at this point, and it is taking a side. I did see one interview today that didn't get a lot of play, and because it came from a different perspective, and it came from somebody who's a very famous person, one of the great NBA players of all time, went to a police academy after he retired and became an unofficial deputy, and his name is Shaquille O'Neal. And here's what he told WABC Radio in New York. He said, quote, the government should give law enforcement more money. Give more money, you recruit more people. And the guys that are not ready to go onto the streets, you put them in front of schools. You put them behind schools. You put them inside of schools. Shaquille O'Neal, goes on to argue that banning guns simply is not something that will work alone because, A, there's 300 million of them out there. And this is the type of solution that deserves many, many different ideas being brought forward. And instead, what we're seeing now is the media pushing one idea forward, which is if you ban guns, you solve the problem. And this is much more comprehensive than that, Tucker.
So I saw some, by the way, if we're going to ban guns, we should start with the bodyguards at network news divisions. You know what I mean? Let's kind of spread the pain around here a little bit. It shouldn't just be widows in West Texas who have to give up their protection. It should be nightly news anchors. Viacom shut down its programming entirely and went black. I've never seen a channel turn down advertising dollars. That's how strongly they felt about this.
Oh, yeah, I wrote about this earlier this morning. Actually, Viacom is a media company, and they own several networks, cable networks anyway, whether that be a Black Entertainment Network or whether it be also Comedy Central, whether it be Nickelodeon, MTV for 17 minutes at 10 a.m., 17 being the number of people that were killed, of course, in Parkland. They ceased all regular programming, and in Nickelodeon's case, they said, you know, we're shutting down because the kids are leading, and we're here to support them. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what they said. And again, that's advocacy, that's activism. You could agree or disagree with it, but at the same time, this was an unprecedented event that we saw via Viacom this morning.
Yeah, it's also cheap moral preening, and if they really cared, they'd pay the college scholarships of everybody at Parkland. But I don't think they will somehow. Joe, great to see you.
By the way, do you get a bodyguard? Because I don't get a bodyguard. I don't have anything.
Of course
for that
not. Cable, man.
Just saying.
I'm not allowed to answer that. No, we're fine. Thanks, Joe.